About 15 years ago, I was coming back from a conference in Tokyo. I'd been at a function like this with about, 400 people in a room, some really cool guys and girls in business, smart guys and girls in business, and some fantastic speakers. And I'd spent 2 days taking notes and writing stuff down, and I was really excited. And I got in the plane on the way home back to Brisbane, where I used to live in Australia, and I'm reflecting on all the great things that we'd done over the years as a result of coming to conferences like this. All the fantastic changes that we'd made, the wonderful things that we'd implemented, and how all that great money that we'd spent on coming to these events was such a great investment because we'd really changed the world. And after about, 45 minutes, an hour, I started to go to a really dark place because I realised that all the things I thought we had put into the business as a result of coming to a function like this were no longer part of the business. We effectively had not made any changes. What had happened was I'd get home from a function like this, I'd be so excited, I'd have pages of notes, and I'd grab everybody into the boardroom and I'd say, right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to change the world. I've learned so much stuff at this function. It was fantastic. I want you to do all these things. It's going to be great. Over the next 3 weeks, we're just going to fix everything. And you could almost see them at the back of the room with their pens and papers going, oh yeah, been off drinking with his mates again. Yes, boss, good idea, yeah. It'll be okay. Give it a couple of days, it'll all be back to normal. And that's exactly what would happen. And I sat in the plane and I was really disappointed with myself. I'd been doing this for a decade, for 10 years. We'd had a number of companies by this stage, and in fact, we had 4 companies at that moment in time. 4 companies, and all of them were going okay, but they weren't great. They weren't as good as they could be, and it was all because we kept getting stuck, and it frustrated me. And so for the rest of the flight home, 8 hours, I sat there and tried to work out why. And I got off the plane and I still didn't have an answer. So instead of running into the office and saying, right, here's what we're going to do, I walked into the office and I said, I'm going to take a couple of days off because I need to try and work out what's going wrong here, because essentially we're just wasting our money. We're spending thousands of dollars flying me all over the world to learn stuff in rooms like this, and nothing's changing. We're just organically growing. Just stuff seems to happen around us. And so I walked out the door to a dumbfounded group of individuals going, well, that was different. And I took a couple of days off and I sat on the beach and I tried to understand what was wrong. And it was pretty quick for me to work out that it was me. Essentially, it was my fault. I'm the leader of this business. I'm trying to affect change. I'm the guy that's supposed to say, here's where we're going. And I wasn't doing that very well. I wasn't articulating what we were supposed to be when we grew up. Now, fortunately, a couple of weeks later, I was out at a racetrack. One of my passions in life is motorsport. It's the only thing I do that is ridiculously expensive that doesn't have any benefit in life. So I was out at a racetrack in Sydney and I was practicing for a race weekend. And I was having a really bad day. It was one of the fastest racetracks in Sydney. And I came down the main straight into turn 1. It just started to rain. And just at that moment, the back of the car flipped out and I started heading towards the wall at 120 miles an hour. Now, when you're in the wet at 120 miles an hour in a race car, at that moment in time, you are a passenger. There is nothing you can do to fix it. And I came back in, I fortunately didn't hit the wall, didn't hurt myself, didn't hurt the car, drove back into the garage and my race instructor said, what's going on out there? You almost hit the wall. I said, yes, I know, I was in the car. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I don't know, well, I'm just having a bad day. He said, come here. And he pulled me over to the garage wall with a little whiteboard there and he drew a picture of the track. And he said, here's what's going on. This is where you came off the track in turn 1. I said, I know. He said, you were so focused on turn 1, that's why you came off the track there. I'm going, what the heck are you talking about? Of course I'm focused on that because I'm going 120 mile an hour. He said, no, I want you focused on turn 4 as you go into turn 1. I said, what do you mean? He said, you've taken this turn intuitively and instinctively 1,000 times. You know where to brake, where to turn, where to accelerate. You've done it 1,000 times. You don't need to think about this. This is intuitive. What you should be doing is thinking about the strategy of the race and what you're going to do 2 and 3 turns down the track. You don't have enough vision. And all of a sudden it became apparent. That wasn't just my driving. That was my life. Every single day was Groundhog Day, focused on what was here, focused on the post-it notes that were stuck on my computer, the phone calls I hadn't returned, the emails I hadn't answered, the staff member I hadn't gone and spoken to like I said I would that day. Everything was happening here in turn one. He said, you are avoiding the accident. You are not focused on winning the race.